Yeah.
The strategy is just a tool to be used. Okay. And tools
As
can
is
be
the
used
trader sometimes.
incorrectly, and it's not the tool's fault. It's still your fault for using it incorrectly, right? So let me give you an
Yeah.
example. I had to do some work on my water sprinklers recently, and I had a hose clamp that I was tightening down with a impact driver. That's stupid. Apparently, in retrospect, I can tell that's really stupid. But I was just like, I'm just screwing it in. It's really fast. And I'm not going to do it too tight. That broke my hose. It was like this hard piece of plastic. It wasn't the tool's fault. It's my implementation with the tool incorrectly. It's not the right tool for the job, right? Which
Somehow
is why
you
we
were
have
being the tool with the tool. You
I was
tool.
the tool, right? But it's like somebody's using that and saying, "Oh, the reason why my hose is broken is because of the impact driver." It's like, no, it was you that used it. And, and so
Right.
when we have a tool for cash flow purposes. We have a tool for growing your accounts really large. We have a tool for diversification and all of those, right? They all come together. But when people possibly, let's just say phase one with these cash flow ideas, right? They start misusing the tool.
Mm.
Whose fault is it? Right? It's
And
used for a specific way. There's only so many ways. I don't use an impact driver to drive a nail.
So, what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement.
welcome everyone to the Prosperity U podcast. This is a place where we like to meet. We are the internal team of the Prosperity Movement, and we like to talk about certain topics to help our community, and not only that, but even folks that are not yet members of our community, to help them understand where we're coming from, how to be successful, how to build generational wealth, how to protect your assets, those kinds of topics. Obviously, we don't do all that in one episode. We pick a topic every week to go over. So I'm excited for today.
It's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but the who and the how instead of just the what.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So today we've got a good topic. I would say it's very foundational, actually. So when we think about trading as a vehicle to make money, the key to trading is being consistent, right? And part of being consistent is having the right level of confidence. And so I actually want to ask Aaron a little bit about that. And what do you think, Aaron, in terms of the right level of confidence to have consistent results? What does that look like for you?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I hadn't even thought of this because I started becoming aware even of trading like over 20 years ago now, right? I was just kind of a punk kid when I first got into it, so I learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I didn't realize at that time, like it never occurred to me the importance of the consistency in trading, because anyone can get lucky and win once or twice, or even for a week or a couple weeks or a month or whatever. But like once you get into it a little bit, you're like, okay, that's cool and all, and people can show big numbers, but like, I want to know now at this level where I'm at and in my life, like where, are they still there 6 months from now? Like, where are they, right? And so as I was going through this whole process myself, and sometimes seeing good results, but then other times like taking big hits and losses, I'm like, I'm clearly not a consistently winning trader. And actually took a lot of work over several years to kind of come down to what that was about, like why that was the case. And it seemed to happen, and I've heard this from a lot of people too, the transition seems to be like a lot of times, even when you've got the strategy down and you're like really doing well with it on demo, but then you switch over to live and suddenly you start losing, right? And you're like, what the heck just happened. In fact, I've had it where I'm like, is the broker changing the charts? Are
Right.
they? And then I've literally put them side by side, right? Like demo with live, just to see, is this the broker? And it took a long time for me to like come to the conclusion, okay, this isn't the broker, this is me. Like I'm doing something different or wrong here, right? And uh you know, not to get too meta or too psychological or dig into like too crazy stuff, but like I realized that there were some like uh I was lacking the confidence. There was like a lot of anxiety in me that followed me everywhere. And it was like this kind of chronic thing in my gut all the time. Sometimes I was aware of it, sometimes I wasn't. But definitely there were like some stuff, and like you could call them traumas, I guess, from my past. And everyone has a story and everyone's had bad experiences, and those can definitely affect us emotionally. And a lot of times, at least I'll just speak for myself, just kind of burying negative experiences that I really didn't want to be dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And thinking that just because I buried it, out of sight, out of mind, but no, it pops up throughout life in different places, unexpectedly. And in one of those places is trading, that it seems to come to the forefront because you're in this high stress, heightened emotional state, right? And so this is a process over a very long period of time. It took me to come to to this realization and conclusion. And one of the things I mentioned in my emails is like, why in the world do 97% of traders who trade, they can trade a 65% winning strategy? Why would 97% of those traders still lose an otherwise profitable strategy? Right? And this is something I've come to over many years. It's like it is that lack of consistency comes from like a lack of confidence or something damaged or something like not quite right.
I think we could even summarize that the lack of this confidence, you could say, is emotion. Like
it is
emotional trading is what causes the phenomenon that you're describing. I also find it hilarious. It's really not funny, but I don't know, it's kind of funny to me. Where when people are struggling in trading, the first thing they do is they just try to blame everything else.
Everything. Yeah.
Including like they get all conspiracy like, and like the broker like made
it's
me
the broker. Yeah.
Well, let's be fair. That kind of is a habit of people in general in life. If life's not going your way, you blame
That's
everything else. And just one thing that's kind of a little off topic here that you just sparked a thought of is I have a friend who posted on Facebook like a meme that was like, they say money won't solve your problems. And then underneath it goes, no, you're wrong. It would solve all of my problems. I needed to do this and that. And I had this bill to be paid for and this food and all of this. And I was like, okay. So if the truth of the matter is that this is what almost everybody does. The more money you make, the more bills you have. You get a bigger house, you get more things that you maybe don't need, you get more materialistic, you start buying. Your problem doesn't go away. You just created bigger problems with more income, right? The root of the problem here is for some people it could be a lack of budgeting skills, or their eyes are bigger than their pocketbook kind of thing. For others, it may just be an idea of like they're kind of, they don't believe in themselves to be able to go do something more meaningful or impactful with their lives. Or there's a plethora of reasons of why this might be like money might be an issue temporarily, right? The truth of the matter is there is a solution to get out of that. Okay, there are solutions for everybody to get out of that. And then when they go into something like trading, And there's going to be some hiccups, of course, so you're not going to be perfect right off the bat. Okay. When you go into there, then of course, if it doesn't happen exactly how you want it, as fast as you want it, then there's again, well, there's a problem that's not me. You're outsourcing somewhere else, and that's an emotion, right? It's called pride, and
Right.
of
Yeah.
course, a lot of us have been conditioned to believe that too, like the way that we're brought up with our school and the government and everything. It's like you have to go work hard, and you've got to do all these things, blah blah blah. And it's all, and the truth of the matter is, well, it kind of is, but just because it's not working perfectly for you right now doesn't mean that it's something else outside of you. Could be. Like I'm trying to think in my head all these different routes that we could go for what's a reason and what's excuse. And so I'm trying to talk to everybody listening. There's some things are actually good reasons, but I think what Aaron is saying is that there probably is a lot more excuse in our own heads and trying to blame outwardly rather than looking inwardly and seeing what you can do to improve. Right.
And the thing about it, the thing
Solve the
about that is,
problem.
yeah, the thing about that is too, man, is in our minds, we think it's legit, right? Like some people, I mean, for at least some of us, right? Like some people are like, think that this is a legitimate excuse. Like they're trying to find, they're not just like specifically, some people do go out and try to find excuses and try to make excuses. But some people, a lot of people, well-intentioned people, I think, don't realize that they're even like doing it. And, you know, it comes out of pride and different things like you said, but absolutely dead on.
We talk about like, you can't overcome a problem. Like no point in living in a problem, right? But some people don't realize they have a problem. And if you can't identify a problem, you can't find a solution for it, which is a big problem to have, right? Like some people just they're not aware of it. I was in a coaching session just this last week, and this lady, just absolute sweetheart. She can tell, like you used the word trauma earlier, like her identity has been in so many different areas. Like I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a farmer, like the list goes on as the things. And she's like, I'm just having such a hard time. I just listened. I just let her unpack the whole thing. Yeah. She's like, I just have such a hard time focusing because while I'm sitting here in front of the chart, I'm thinking of laundry over there. I'm thinking of this over there. And I'm thinking of that over there. And I'm thinking of this over there. And I'm like, keep going. Just just right. Let it all out. And then she finally was like, oh. Because like, you just need to talk it out. Now that you know what the problems are, what do we have for solutions? And then, I mean, we started diving into like getting to the truth of who you are and the identity. I'd rather listen who God says I am than to even in my own mind, right? Yeah. Because there's so many people walking around with, I'm not worthy happening as a dialogue in their head. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. You know, all the things that are happening outside of them. Their identity is in what they're doing, or their identity is in what's happened to them. Their identity is in what's in their bank account. Their identity is in what so-and-so said, whether it was past or present or constantly being said to them. And none of that is true. But the I feel, therefore I am syndrome is real. Mm-hmm. If I feel insert, like I was just having a conversation with Zach yesterday. I'm like, dude, I've been a grump recently, bro. I'm actually kind of feel a little embarrassed about it. I've been super incredibly grumpy on almost every single call that I'm jumping on. This is not who I am. I had to identify it, right? Like, and he's like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. You got to look at the circumstances. But listen to that. The circumstances, because, hey, guess what? Even life for guys that are making lots of money. Hey, there are billionaires out there that they're in a relationship where they're with a disgruntled wife, or they have somebody in their life like like whether it's a woman or a man these days, just saying you don't even know anymore, that is making your life really challenging. And that can really soak, like you bring that wherever you go. More you don't have to, but most people do, right? And it's just the reality of it. And by the way, I'm old fashioned, and I believe what the Bible says about a man has a penis and a woman has a vagina. Just saying, just had to throw that out there because there's a lot of people even identifying as cats in school nowadays. Just saying. But anyways, yeah.
So James, I do want to. I know you raised your hand a while back, so go ahead. Like, what is this about? I think it's about consistency with what we were talking about in emotion.
Yeah, I liked Brian's words from last week where he used the word solutionary. And I think I would put myself in that category. I wouldn't have used that term prior to hearing it from Brian. So thanks for that, Brian. But generally, every time I've had someone come to me and say, the strategy, this, and then that happened, and then the strategy, and it's the strategy, and it's your fault on the strategy. And I say, do me a favor, open up your statement. Demo or real, I don't care. Open up a statement. Let's scroll back on the chart. Show me how that statement agrees with that strategy. And it doesn't. There's not a trade on there. There's a buy entry. Is that on your statement? No. Where's your entry? Miles away. What are you doing? It's not the strategy, is it? So what are you, like, if you got a pin and you do, well, when it gets to there, you're sticking a pin in your computer screen. How are you picking these trades? Because it really isn't the strategy. And when you point that out to people, then you're taking them to task. And whatever you think is an excuse, whatever you think is a reason, shut up, wipe your nose, and there is the real answer right there.
And the strategy is just a
blue
tool.
And red, green and red, whatever color you want to call it. There's the answer. You're not doing it.
Yeah. The strategy is just a tool to be used. Okay. And tools can be used incorrectly. And it's not the tool's fault. It's still your fault for using it incorrectly, right? So let me give you an example. I had to do some work on my water sprinklers recently, and I had a hose clamp that I was tightening down with a impact driver. That's stupid. Apparently, in retrospect, I can tell that's really stupid. But I was just like, I'm just screwing it in. It's really fast. And I'm not going to do it too tight. That broke my hose. It was like this hard piece of plastic. It wasn't the tool's fault. It's my implementation with the tool incorrectly. It's not the right tool for the job, right?
Which is why we have the tool with the tool.
It is the tool. But it's like somebody's using that and saying, "Oh, the reason why my hose is broken is because of the impact driver." It's like, no, it was you that used it. And so when we have a tool for cash flow purposes. We have a tool for growing your accounts really large. We have a tool for diversification and all of those, right? They all come together. But when people possibly, let's just say phase one with these cash flow ideas, right? They start misusing the tool. Whose fault is it, right? It's used for a specific way. There's only so many ways. I don't use an impact driver to drive a nail.
Right. James, if that person, so in that example where you say, hey, pull up your statements, if you weren't there to have them pull up their statements, look at the chart and point out how they didn't follow the strategy, they would continue to move on believing that they did do the strategy correctly and that the strategy didn't work for them.
Correct. And they'd be in that percentage that the brokers say this many people lose. You're the cannon fodder.
That's that right there. We talk about feedback loops. We talk about like some of the most wealthy people in the world, including Elon Musk, say that the most valuable thing that you can have is a feedback loop. How many people are out there right now? The most frustrating thing you can go through, I don't know, for me it is anyways. I say I don't lose. There's no such thing as losing. I learn and then I come back and dominate. You can't beat me. I promise. There's no such thing as losing with me. I will crush you. You might have some sort of moment where you can like offset something, but I will learn, I promise, and then I will crush. But my point in this is there's nothing more frustrating than to be in the position of not knowing what you're doing wrong. Because there's so many people out there that are like, I did everything it said it told me to do. And it's like, anything worth anything. Like I've got a cousin was a professional. He just retired, but he was a professional NHL hockey player. He was in the show for over a decade. I watched this guy, literally when he was going through novice and Adams and bantams and then juniors and all that kind of stuff. He was always a year ahead. He was the youngest guy on the ice, but he was the best player on the ice. He was the captain of the team, even though he was always the youngest. He was 1 year ahead of everyone. Then he gets to the show and he was just a regular second line player, right? But point being though, too, is through that process, you don't get into those positions because you went on YouTube and learned how to shoot a puck, right? he practiced relentlessly every day, and he was surrounded by really amazing mentorship. He also paid extra. His parents paid extra for really amazing mentorship. Went to some of the best hockey schools out there. This is like, right? So when people come over here, what do they get that's different than just being on YouTube? You get a feedback loop, a true feedback loop to show you the errors of your ways so that you can expedite your process to excellence, right? And that's the whole point here is the big problem is that I would say that 92, 97%, whatever the percentage is of people that are out there trying to learn right now are doing it all by themselves with an element of pride and ego. And then the interesting thing is that they'll learn a strategy and they'll play around with it for, a few weeks, few months. And then it's like you said, the strategy's fault. So I'm going to go learn another strategy. Meanwhile,
then they'll improve the strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Like
another
they
thing.
should have just stuck with it and maybe got a really good feedback loop because it's the consistency that's going to get you the cash flow, and no matter what it is.
Yeah.
To get consistency, you've got to give consistency, and that's the way of it. We're in a fortunate position with our live trading sessions in that we've got. I've used the term a few times in the sessions now, and I've said I'm happy to be judged by a jury of my peers. But did I not say this? And did I not say that? And is that not that right there on the charts? And, for me, that's it. The proof's in the pudding then. So if you're there saying, well, I didn't get it, it didn't work for me. Well, we're all here together. It worked for us.
Yeah.
And it's not about you being prideful and being correct all the time. James, I don't think it matters to you personally, except for the fact that you want to see other people get the result, right?
Absolutely.
So it's I was right. I told you so.
I get goosebumps here
exactly.
and here. I only get them. I don't know why only there, not there. I only get them when they do well. Guy gave me goosebumps today with his results and what he's doing. That was
what did he do today? He was got like 100 the other day, 38 pips the other day. It's hitting, smashing out 75% ratio. I've been watching you, Guy. Man, look at you. And how cool is that? 35 at the open, 35 pips at the open. He's just popping in the chat here. 35 pips at the open. That's so like watching this consistency. How long has Guy been with us now, Zach? And how long has he struggled? Let's be real.
So he's been with us from the beginning.
So we're going on over 3 years. We're moving into the 4-year mark.
Well, not with the trading. And Guy,
I haven't known him that long.
Yeah, because I'm looking at when Prosperity Movement started. Guy was one of the first people to sign up.
Yeah.
Because he knows our intent, he knows our character, and he trusted us. And look at that, good thing he has, right? And then I think, Guy, you started getting really consistent, probably around tail end of last year. So I guess that probably took you, 10 months or so to start getting real.
I remember calls we would have where he would call fiery fury, and me too. We were both frustrated with the fact that I know he'd be okay with us sharing this. 2 years this month, he says, when Travis, let's take a look at this. When Travis told me what trading was with Convert on Demand or Convert on Command, and we had leads on demand a few months prior to that. So yeah, we were doing another thing.
Known Guy a long time.
Yeah, we've known him a while, but yeah, it was it's just been amazing to watch because, and again, I know you'd be okay with this guy, but Guy, he grew up with a learning disability. I mean, so did I. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. But what a testimony, man! This guy is just relentless, kept on showing up. And, it took a year for it to kind of start to click for him. Now, that doesn't happen for everybody. We're seeing guys like Hunter Boudreau right now completely come in and dominate out of the gates. We've seen guys like Nick Koenig, Paul, the list goes on of the people that are coming through here and just completely dominating almost out of the gates. And also coming from other places and losing and being in a deficit, coming over here and seeing completely different results. Did you read what Hunter said on the chat today? What did he say here? He says, yeah, everyone needs to find what works best for them. And on the discipline front, I can't tell you how many courses or programs I bought that yielded no results. Part of that was the support and training was subpar. I actually want to get it on screen here. He says it was subpar. And part of that was myself and my mindset. So taking extreme ownership. But I think eventually you get to a point where something has to give. You either give up completely or get tired enough of losing money and spinning your wheels and realize discipline and self-ownership is the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. And Paul jumping in like the Godfather over here. This. Like, listen to this
down,
kid.
though, man. So, yeah. You know, and that's, I think
kid,
that's
right?
one of the things that separates or the huge differentiator between prosperity movement and these other trading programs like this guy's talking about, because like they don't get into this kind of stuff. Bryan, you mentioned something really interesting earlier. You said, I don't want to even think about myself what I think about myself, right? You're like, I want to believe about myself what God says about me. And we can get into that loop, even just so. Like, I just want to say this. If you're struggling, you've been trying to get trading figured out for a long time, and you feel like you're doing everything right? I think there's a couple of things that come into play that are sometimes outside of our awareness level. The first is, and I talked about this in some of the emails, but like, is our identity. Like, who are we? And not who do we think we are? Like Bryan said, I don't even want to believe my own thoughts about myself, because you can believe a lie all day long, and that will affect to you. A lie can be a lie, but if you believe it, to you that lie is the truth, right? And so your behavior reflects the belief of a lie then, right? We see it all day long on social media.
All the time.
And so we need to know who we are. Like, and I speak from a point of my Christian faith, like, I believe who God says I am in Christ from the Bible, from Scripture, right? And he says we're some pretty amazing things, right? And so even if you say a little, even if you're like, I think I'm pretty good, or I have a pretty positive self-image, but if you're trading and you lose a trade and you say something like, oh man, I'm such an idiot, right? Well, that's coming from somewhere, and it's a lie. Right. And so, like, I would say be aware of those little indicators of what you say about yourself that just kind of slip out of your mouth, because they're coming from somewhere. I believe they're coming from your heart.
And like I said, it could be coming from multiple things, whether it was something that someone said when you were like, I'll never forget, like, just high level here. Teachers right in front of me told my parents, don't expect much of him. He's not going to amount to anything. I was being defined by a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay. And that stuck with me for years, man. Like, I was angry, frustrated. I did not trust any teacher, pretty much any teacher. There were the odd little teacher here and there that would pop up that I would have respect for, but they were all lumped into one thing. And so I struggled in school just because of that one moment. I took that with me, and it took me a long time to be able to get to a point of identifying that was part of the lie that I was living.
Oh, yeah.
And then like little things like, people might not be aware of this, and I'll share it openly, because you don't know if you're walking around with this bullshit. But I walked around. There's this scene in Goldmember. Daddy wasn't there to take me to the fair to change my underwear. Daddy wasn't there. Seemed he didn't care. That sort of thing. It's a funny scene. It's hilarious. I absolutely love Mike Myers, and I love that movie, and it's hilarious. But if you're living in that, that's a reality. My biological father wasn't in the picture. So right. I feel, therefore I am not loved, not good enough, not worthy. And that came with me to the point where I'm admitted in the hospital 3 times for drug and alcohol-induced psychosis between the age of 17 and 21. Yeah. Right. And then it took this big pinnacle moment where I'm literally like, I'm over 100 pounds, way over, like I'm over 300 pounds at this point. I'm lost, like addicted to crack, cocaine, avid drinker, 2-pack a day smoker, lost in porn. I had a phone with like 500 phone numbers in it. You can imagine drug dealers, all kinds of, I don't like to say bad people, but people making really bad decisions. And all of a sudden I'm crying in front of the mirror. The mirror has, like, you can't lie. Like, you can lie to other people. You can lie to yourself, but I dare you to look in the mirror and then try and lie to yourself.
Yep.
I dare you. So I'm like, literally
look into your eyes when you're looking at yourself in the mirror.
Exactly. So this is what I'm doing in the mirror, and I'm looking at myself. I'm like, God, and like, I'm having a conversation. Like, God, I know you want more for me. This is not the life you want for me. And all of a sudden, like I didn't hear Morgan Freeman voice or anything like that coming from the sky, but God speaks in conviction. He speaks in prompting. He speaks in, through other people. Like you've got to be able to discern through that. But all of a sudden I had this prompting that I have these 500 phone numbers on my phone. Hey, Bryan, you got to delete all those phone numbers. You got to get a new phone number. No calls going out, none coming in. And I walked into the gym the next day. I remember seeing all these beautiful people and how happy they were. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going for it. Started playing with the weights. It hurt too much. So I went to the work on the treadmill and stuff. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, I had personal trainer, high leveling it here. Lots of people got involved, got given a book called Body for Life by Bill Phillips. I lost over 100 pounds.
Wow.
In 6 months. I had been on medication my entire life, defined by diagnosis. Check this out. This is what it was. This guy right here, lost inside himself. So all of a sudden, this is the outcome.
Wow.
Of just a consistency of walking into the gym every single day. And you can do that with anything. It doesn't matter. Like the difference, like everybody on this call has some form of addiction, whether it's the way that you talk to yourself in a negative way, could be your phone, could be alcohol, could be drugs, could be anger, could be fury, right? Like we have addictions that we need to be able to identify to be able to find solutions to problems, right? To be able to overcome those things. If you can't identify it, you can't overcome it. Right. And so whether or not that's in your health, your time management, your relationships, your finances, your trading, like you've got to be able to identify these things so that you can become the solutionary that you were created to be. And that's a whole nother, podcast session on the story of the talents, but I digress. There's so much jam and all that stuff.
I think the topic of addiction is actually pretty pertinent because we do hear a lot of people say, like if they go through like a revenge trade situation, one thing that we hear them say is like, I just couldn't stop. Do is they disempower themselves by saying something like that. The reality is you were lacking discipline in that particular situation. So it's not that they were addicted to revenge trading. I'm not trying to say that. But it's a similar, I don't want to say it's similar. That's probably not the right respectful way to say it. But by saying that you can't stop something, you are immediately giving up your own power. And the reality is you do have your own discipline. Now, if on the flip side, instead of saying I couldn't stop revenge trading, and by the way, if you don't know what revenge trading is, it's this thing that happens with traders where if they have a big loss, or even if it starts with a little loss, they have a little loss and they go, it's okay. I'm going to make it up right now. I'm going to make up for that. And then they have a slightly bigger loss. It's okay. I'm going to make up all of this. And then they have
trying to feel that dopamine. They're trying to hit that dopamine hit. They're trying to get that rush. Yeah.
And it might be adding more position or moving a stop loss against themselves and doing stupid things. It's like trying to get sober and still buying more whiskey.
Exactly.
You've got to. I did a comparison thing the other day. I said, are we traders or are we gamblers? Technically, we're counting cards. Also, when you sing the Kenny Rogers song, we know when to hold, when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And we must know when, and the charts will tell us. So technically, I mean, certainly where I live, we're spread betting, so it is gambling, but then there's no tax. But there's more than a 50-50 chance. If you do it properly, it's high probability and low risk, but you still got to use discipline.
Only if you follow your preset rules.
Yes.
Right.
And this is where I was trying to pull that. So Bryan, you used to struggle with alcoholism, and now
all the things.
Right. Well, let's just go with that because
the only thing I didn't put in my arm was a needle, but outside of that, anything you could put in a needle, I pretty much put in my body in some way, shape, or form. Nothing to be proud of. But yeah, keep going.
But now, and I know there was a period of time where you did not want to have any alcohol at all, but now you can enjoy yourself and socially have a drink.
Correct. Yeah.
And the reason for that is you have a predefined set of rules for yourself with what is acceptable and what is not. That's it.
Yeah, I went over a decade, no drugs and alcohol. And now I'll be honest, I in Canada, THC is one of those things that is legal, and we're Canadian, eh? Anyway, so every once in a while, I introduce that into my world. I'm just being real. And then yeah, like when it comes to alcohol, I will not allow myself to get to a point where like I'm waking up and my eyes feel like they're in a desert in the back of my head. Like I need to be able to focus, and I know what that. I mean, I was with Travis this week, and yeah, I enjoy a few gin here and there. They don't have Caesars in the States. They got Bloody Marys, which are pretty bloody disgusting. But so I'd have a few, and then I just knew that this is the time that I need to stop, because I just intrinsically I know that if I keep going, I'm going to wake up feeling like a bag of yeah.
But the thing is, or the trick to all of that, Brian, I think, and going back to kind of what Zach said here, is you have those preset rules for yourself, but you follow them. And tying this back to trading, I set rules for myself when I was not in a heightened emotional state. But then when you slip into that heightened emotional state, it's like you're on autopilot, right? The emotions take over, and your logical brain is no longer in charge, right? And so I think that's where coming back beforehand, when you were struggling with these different addictions, you didn't have a solid sense, a keen sense of identity or who you were, right?
I was lost in that. Like I said, I feel therefore I am. Like I wasn't worthy, it wasn't good enough, I'm not unloved, and all that kind of stuff. Like that was the dialogue. I'm stupid, like all that kind of stuff. I'm a failure. That was what I was constantly living in. And it's interesting you say this though with the emotion part, because if I'm in a negative emotional state, I will not drink. That's one of my rules. If I'm in a negative emotional state, I will not drink to try and improve my scenario. I will not drink to try and improve a scenario. Now, if there's reason to celebrate and things are going good, sure, this is a good moment to have a drink or two and be in a good setting. But outside of that, like I'm not drinking to improve my life anymore. And that was the thing before, when I was doing drugs and alcohol, was to try and fill a gap. You can't fill a God-sized hole with drugs, drinking, cigarettes, or money. You can't, or sex even. Like, I'm be honest, that's another one of my things. All of a sudden I lose all that weight and I let go of the drugs, but now doors were starting to open. Women that wouldn't open the door for me before were now opening the door, and everything else. So I went down a whole different train of like Gene Simmons for a while.
And I think that what's really key is when you're not doing the alcohol or anything in a negative state. And I think that's how many traders argue with their spouse, and then they're like, I got to trade because I said I was going to trade at this time. And then they sit down to try. Oh man,
you're taking it in with you. You're pulling it in with you.
Challenges, by the way, number one cause of loss on the market. Number one, by far.
Yeah.
So just
if you're going through a big emotional spat with your spouse or your significant other, trading is the last place you should be. The first place you should be is honing in on, if you can hone in on that challenge together as a couple, as a, perfect place to start. But if you can't, and you're in a whirlwind with that, like there's so many hot topics around, like there are people that don't even realize there's a narcissist in their life and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like there's people can be bloodsuckers, man, life leeches. And if you're dealing with that, we need to address some of those things for you to become successful in a lot of the other areas of your life. How many people here, you don't even realize you're in a toxic relationship. You're all of a sudden 50 to 80 pounds heavier than you should be. And you're wondering why, like what kind of whirlwind spiral are you in? Like we all hear about the dad bods and all that kind of stuff. Well, that is unnecessary. It shouldn't be happening. If it is, what's causing it? What is causing it? Yes, it's your habits of, James would say, there's a chocolate bar in the cupboard and it's there. I have the discipline to leave that alone. My wife doesn't, right? He says, but so what is triggering that? Like now we know the problem is that I'm eating too much or I'm eating all of the wrong things. But deeper than that, why?
Yeah.
Why do I not have discipline? What's causing to trigger me to do this?
You
Right?
know,
Right.
a cool
I
thing
think
about
of-
this that you're saying right now too is I think that one of the most unidentified thing, I can't think of the word right now, things that people need to do in order to get to the next step in their life and their journey with their goals, right, is to address the need for change. Like I don't know any success story of any level, moderate, high, any in between, doesn't matter, any that people didn't make changes with their life in general.
That's
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. One of the guys that I follow a lot, I think one of the coolest things that he said that stuck out to me was he goes, I'm not going to offer you a scam. And a scam is defined by anything promising to change your life without you having to make changes,
Mm.
which I think is pretty cool because all we're talking about so far on this is it's not so much how do you push a button to trade, it's how do you change your
Yeah.
way of thinking, maybe some bad habits. How do you change the necessary things that need to change in order to see the changes you want? Again, this goes back to the let's address the problem. Your money is not your problem. Your problem is what got you to a point where you don't have enough. Okay, we gotta go figure out what that problem is.
Right.
And so,
Yeah. And how are you labeling yourself? Like, let me give you an example.
Right.
Okay, we're talking about addiction. Do you actually consider yourself an addict? Because those 12-step programs, like the Bible says that I am is the most powerful thing you could ever say. Anything you put after it becomes true. And so now if you're labeling yourself an addict, once an addict, always an addict.
Yeah.
How much guilt and shame is associated with that? And how much are you going to live in that torment for the rest of your life? You're basically in bondage to that label. I know that God would never label me an addict, and I never did take that label. I had an addiction to this, or I have an addiction to this. Now I have control.
Mm-hmm.
The addiction doesn't have control of me. I have control of the addiction so long as I can label it properly. What's the difference between addiction and ambition? It's simply where you point your energy. And there's a small little line of like, you can take that energy of addiction. Like what did I do? Instead of doing crack and cocaine and drinking avidly and 2-pack a day smoking, I just shifted to going to the gym first thing in the morning and first thing after work, and boom, I just replaced it. It was replaced with something positive. So cool. You have an addiction to something, great. Identify it and then replace it with something proactive.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too comes down to, I mean, some people watching right now, their eyes may be being opened, just being aware of it. Like awareness is huge, right? And it's not just, so identity is what it's like this balance between how our identity and our mindset and our thoughts affect our action, and how we like there's this thing in copywriting, right, Zach, where Chris Rochler talks about it. He talks about emotions and feelings are different. So the emotion is actually the chemical response that takes place in the body, and it changes your body's state, the state that your body's in, right? And it creates a feeling. So emotions and feelings are two different things. And in this process, the autonomic nervous system comes into play. So like the part of the nervous system that controls our automated responses. So like, for example, our heart beating, or our liver filters toxins from our blood. It's all automated, right? When we slip into kind of like that automated state of mind, a trauma can trigger, right? Because it's actually in our body's DNA. They've shown scientifically, like it is reflected in the DNA of our body. It can even be passed from parents to offspring, right? We can be
100%.
born with genetic,
Generational.
generational, exactly. And so just being aware of that too. Like there are certain processes that our bodies go through. So this isn't just it's not just mindset. Our mindset, our identity literally controls this domino effect throughout, that slips us into like a different state of mind, like during that period of time, right? So we're spiritual beings, we're spirit, soul, and body, right? And one thing Zach said a long time ago that stuck with me, in fact, I stole it from one of my emails, was he said, nothing puts a mirror in front of your face and shows you who you are like trading does, right? Like you cannot escape it. And the balance in your account does not lie. The data is staring you right blank in the face. And I really believe with all my heart at this point, after so many of the experiences that I've had, that this is the key missing piece to why that 97% is so high, right?
Yeah.
Why so many traders do fail. They get stuck in these loops. So it's like, if you're having trouble with discipline in your trades, you got to dig deeper. You've got to look for like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep repeating this pattern, right? And it can be as simple as something that happened to you. Like most of us have dysfunctional upbringings, right? Many, 50%, maybe it's over now, have been through some sort of divorce. I know I have, and it's definitely affected me. Like all these different things that happen throughout our life. And what do? We repress. Well, that's got to go somewhere, right? And the answer is, it goes into our cells, and it goes into our sense of identity of who we are, right? It affects our mindset. It affects everything.
You marinate in it in some way, shape, or form, right?
Right.
But the interesting thing is you ultimately have power over it. It's not supposed to have power over you. You allow it to have power over you, but you do have the power. Like even in my parenting, like I had enough power yesterday to identify it with Zach. I was like, dude, I feel like that grumpy guy in the garbage can on Sesame Street, Grouch, whatever.
Grouch,
right now,
yeah.
like I genuinely like this is how I feel, and this is what's been manifesting itself on these calls, and like I have to shift this. Like, so I had to identify it, right. And even as a dad, like I hang out with my kids, and I'm dealing, and I'm getting frustrated because the kids aren't listening or whatever the case, and they're just being kids, right. And then it's interesting that the moment that I just shift my energy and I move from, oh, this better not happen or I'm going to blah, 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 like to pause, take a breath and be like, man, you're my child. You're my kid. Like, I love you. Like, I'm so blessed to even be here with you right now. Like, holy, incredible. And then all of a sudden you just feel the entire energy, the energy inside of me, my shoulders come down and like all of a sudden, and then they can feel it and you see their whole body and everything change. The whole atmosphere all of a sudden changes. It's like you have that power to, like, this is why I always say happiness is a happening. It happens to you. It's circumstantial, but joy is something you can choose. You can choose it at any point in time. Doesn't matter what's happening. You can change the channel.
Beautiful about this. That's what's so beautiful about all of this. That God has given us the ability to choose.
Gift of decision.
That's right.
Gift of decision. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You have the choice. You can choose at any time, right here, right now. You can make a choice. This is it. I'm done living this way, or it's time to make a change. It's time to implement something new. It's time to surround myself with the right people, understanding that power is in proximity, right? It's time for me to, hey, I had to delete all 500 phone numbers, get a new I got a new 5 in here. I'll go filter through that here soon. But look at what's on screen right now. When they say that the 5 people you spend most time with, that's a direct reflection of pretty much every aspect of your life, including your bank account. It's interesting. Like this is I got my 5 right here, like, and the prosperity movement has 5 by 5s, 5 by 5s upon 5s by 5s, man. Like it's one of those things where if you have not thought about these moving elements, it's something that we need to assess, address, and take action on. And you can, and you should. So, yeah.
Because I guarantee it. Oh, sorry, Zach.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, Oh, go
So
ahead.
talking about consistency, right? Like as we're kind of wrapping up, I think we've talked about having discipline, a preset of rules before you trade, avoiding negative emotions or emotions in general when you trade. These are all different things that we've kind of covered. One of the things I always like to say is consistency in trading is not about winning. It's about not losing. And everything that we just talked about was advice on how not to lose. Right. That's what it's about. It's just about how not to lose by getting your identity straight, by following all these things that we've been talking about on this podcast. And so sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Conditioned. We were conditioned for that, Zach. We were conditioned because when you go to school, you get a big F, big red F on your papers, and that's like the end of the world. It's
right.
Like, horrible. True. How dare you, you failure. So now every time we quote unquote lose, that's the first thing that we think is we associate it with failure.
Right.
It's like the end of the road. Meantime, what are some of the most successful people in the world? Elon Musk says like, the difference between me and anyone else is I fail faster and probably like way more than most people at any given day, but I don't fail. I don't lose. I learn. So it's just a perspective shift. It's again, the difference between addiction and ambition. I'm just going to shift my energy. I'm going to shift my focus on it. I don't lose. I don't know about you. Losing doesn't count. Hey, Jesus' name is victory. He lives in me. I'm victory. Okay. That's who he says I am. I am victory. You are victory. We are victory. That's who we were designed to be. You don't lose, you learn, and then you conquer. You were created to have dominion and power on earth as it is in heaven. On his behalf, you were made in his image, divine purpose, created fearfully and wonderfully made. I can go on and quote from the good book on who he says you are, loved unconditionally, unequivocally, irrevocably. You know, that's the truth of who you are. And when you can just admit, submit, and commit to that, it's amazing what you can do in every other area of your life and all the 4 pillars of prosperity and in your trading.
And failure itself is defined by falling down and getting up one less time than you've fallen down, right? And the idea behind what Zach is saying earlier about learning how not to lose is that losing, if you think of it this way, is like the championship, right? The big picture, the goal. Failure can happen, and then you learn. You don't lose, you learn from failures and go forward. And if you give up, or never learn, then that's where you lose. And so we're going to teach you how to not lose so that you keep going and you actually go to the championship and win. Okay. And that looks different for everybody. Okay.
I fall like
but whatever that goal is at the end, that's the championship. You just got to get there. Sometimes you're gonna have like a failure here or there that you're gonna learn from, and then you're not gonna lose. Okay.
I'm putting I fall like a cat on a mug now. That's the new mug.
I didn't hear it. What do you say?
He said, I fall like a cat.
Like a cat.
I don't give your...
Sorry, that was a dark joke. Anyway.
I got 9 lives too. No.
Brian, you have a link.
You burned through those during your previous years, man.
Yeah, that's true. In my previous years, I'm pretty sure I only got 1 or 2 left after all that, for sure. Anyway, yeah. Hey, listen, if you're listening to this podcast right now, if you're live with us, we just want to encourage you to do your due diligence and dive into the content. We have something special for you. It's called The Blueprint. It is completely complimentary. Should you jump into this link, it is normally $47, about $470 worth of value-ish in and around there. This can completely change your life. I had mentioned earlier that, I went through this big transformation with my health, and that's obviously not what we're here to dive into, but it's the principle. I read a book. It was called Body for Life by Bill Phillips. In that book, it prepared my mind and it prepared my heart. And then all of a sudden my results soared, lost over 100 pounds in 6 months. And the list goes on. The blueprint is very similar to that concept. It's going to prepare your mind. It's going to prepare your heart. It's going to give you everything you need to succeed in your trading journey, including aligning you with a championship team that is going to help you back engineer your dreams. All you got to go do is click on go or type out go.prosperitymovement.online/prosperity team. Book a time in the calendar. Take it seriously. Go through the material. It's 3 hours worth of material. You can watch it at 2x speed. If you've never taken a weekend course, which I believe that's very far and few between. So many people will take a weekend course to be able to, get a little piece of certification that'll help them earn a little bit more money. Put in that time. Jump on a call. See what your options are. We've made it very attainable for the average Joe and Jane. We're talking about maybe a hot date once a month worth of investment in regards to money. Not McDonald's, dinner, movie, wine. Yeah, to get access to 6, 7, and 8 figure earners for them to help you guide you to your goals. It is unparalleled support. You're not going to find this anywhere. Jump in now. And I believe that we're extending for one more week as we launch into September, as we launch into the fall, I think we're reduced our tuition about 47%. It's the lowest it's ever been, the lowest it's ever going to be. If there's ever been a time to jump into that calendar, today is the day. Now is the time to stop drifting and start accelerating into your excellence in the mighty name of the kingdom. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys.
Woo!
Bye.